The 2016 NFL Draft. Before the draft took place, people were asking the question, do you take the smooth operating Jared Goff with the #1 overall pick, or the small school standout Carson Wentz? You also had the all but guaranteed top 5 pick Laramie Tunsil fall out of the top 10 after somebody hacked his Twitter account 10 minutes before the draft began, and they posted the infamous gas mask video.
And somehow somebody got in my photos and hacked my Twitter account. Apparently somebody just hacked my Instagram account, so man, it's getting crazy.
NFL teams panicked during the early part of the draft, and Tunsil dropped all the way to pick number 13, which cost him millions. In today's video, we will take a look at the top 10 picks from 2016 and see how their careers have gone to this point. This has actually been a pretty good class, and many of them are still in the league today. Actually, pretty good would be an understatement.
Matt Castle, and he's picked off! Ramsey! Touchdown!
7 of them have made a Pro Bowl, 5 have been named first-team All-Pros, and it turns out that only one of them didn't make a roster in 2025. So with all that said, let's go ahead and jump into things with the top pick in 2016.
The Los Angeles Rams select Jared Goff, quarterback, California.
Goff was a polished, prototypical pocket passing quarterback. He wasn't a freak talent with a cannon for an arm or anything, but he had all the tools to be a necessary day one starter.
I think I'm a pocket passer, but I think I have the ability to extend the play and can use my legs when I need to. I'm not going to run for a million yards, but I can escape the pocket and make some plays with my feet if I need to.
His tall, skinny frame, combined with his traditional skill set, drew comparisons to Matt Ryan. The Rams at the time had just moved from St. Louis to LA, and Jeff Fisher was still the head coach. Under Fisher, the team hovered in that 6 to 7 win range. They were never terrible, but they were never good either. They originally held the 15th overall pick in 2016, but they sent a massive haul to the Titans to acquire their future franchise quarterback. Unfortunately, things got off to a brutal start for Jared Goff. Here's a summary of Jared Goff's NFL journey year by year. As a rookie, Goff sat the bench till week 11, and he started the final 7 games. It was brutal.
Watch out from behind, he gets hit, and it was Vic Beasley.
The team lost all 7 games, and Goff put up the lowest passer rating in the NFL. The following season, with the hiring of 30-year-old Sean McVay, things drastically improved. Goff went from dead last to top 5 in passer rating.
Play action from Goff. Goff, deep ball. Robert Woods, he's got it!
Helping lead the Rams to an 11-5 record before losing in the wild card. Year 3 was another big improvement. The team dominated on both sides of the ball, and Goff was one of the top quarterbacks in the league.
Goff on first down. Wow! Touchdown Rams!
Nearly averaging 300 yards a game. This marked his 2nd Pro Bowl in a row. As the number 2 seed, they defeated Dallas in the divisional round, then narrowly escaped the Saints in that controversial NFC title game.
Pass is incomplete, no flag.
And then in the Super Bowl, Goff struggled as the Rams only managed 3 points and a loss to the Patriots. 2019 saw a regression. Goff threw the ball more than anyone in the NFL. However, he was much more turnover prone and less efficient. They would miss the playoffs. 2020 was a similar story. The offense saw another regression, but luckily their dominant #1 defense helped them get back to the playoffs. They ended up cruising through Seattle in round 1, but then were bested by the Packers on a day they couldn't move the ball. At this time, Sean McVay had proven his genius as a coach, but clearly felt like Goff was holding the team back.
When Jared's having a tough time like he had in Miami, do you consider putting him on the bench?
So he made the move to acquire quarterback Matthew Stafford. This landed Goff on the Lions, one of the worst teams in the league at the time. In Detroit, year 1 was rough. With the hiring of Dan Campbell, the team was awful, and Goff put up his lowest pass yards per game since his rookie season. Things quickly shifted in 2022. The offense dramatically improved with Goff returning to his 2017 form.
3rd and short. Goff up in the air. It is caught!
Despite missing the playoffs, Detroit had something brewing. 2023 was a seismic shift. Detroit went from a fun story to a legit contender. Goff threw for 30 touchdowns for the 2nd time in his career. And in dramatic fashion, they defeated his old team in the wildcard round to achieve Detroit's first playoff win in 32 years. This was a magical moment. Then with a huge win over Tampa the following week, all of a sudden, the Lions were in the NFC title game.
Steps into one, launching deep, going for Brandon Ayuk. It is, oh, he caught it off the rim. Ricochet.
Sadly, with a few bad breaks, they came up short in the end. 2024, the Lions were the scariest team in football. With arguably the best roster, they absolutely rolled teams, and Goff had his best season of his career.
Amon-Ra St. Brown's going to throw it back to Goff. Who had that on the bingo card?
Placing him in MVP talks. But after a 15-2 regular season, the significant injuries to Detroit's defense proved too much to overcome, as they were shocked by the Commanders in the divisional round. Goff threw 3 picks that day and also lost a fumble. Finally, 2025 was another impressive season for Goff statistically, but Detroit's defense was a shell of itself. In a shocking turn of events, they missed the playoffs. Overall, Jared Goff has been an excellent regular season quarterback, but a few poor playoff performances have affected his legacy, at least slightly. Also, his ability to be ranked higher on a year-to-year basis is significantly hampered by his lack of mobility, as he may be the slowest quarterback in the NFL. Still, Goff solidified himself as a top 10 quarterback in the league. Now, before we continue, this video is brought to you by DoorDash. I can't tell you many times I have used the DoorDash to order lunch or dinner, especially during busy workdays. It's always been fast and easy delivery whenever I've needed it. It's a reliable experience from kitchen to doorstep, with orders being sealed, tracked, delivered with care, and supported by solid customer support. Also, DoorDash isn't just for restaurant delivery anymore. You can get almost anything delivered right to your door, from groceries, wellness products, pet supplies, electronics, flowers, gifts, and more. It's been perfect to be able to order a family member a quick gift on a special occasion. Plus, you can save money with the Dash Pass, which allows its members to get $0 delivery fees and reduce service fees on eligible orders. There's also exclusive perks and offers for Dash Pass members, including 5% back on pickups and additional partner benefits like Lyft and Max where eligible. Download the DoorDash app today to get 50% off up to $10 on your first DoorDash order of $15 plus by clicking the link in the description or scanning the QR code on screen and using my discount code. Shout out to DoorDash for the sponsor. Now let's get back to the video.
The Philadelphia Eagles select Carson Wentz, quarterback, North Dakota State.
As a prospect, Wentz was quite a bit different than Goff. First off, he was massive at 6'5", 237 pounds with a big arm, and he had great mobility. He was a playmaker who could make big-time throws and run when he needed to. Although there were concerns over his elongated throwing motion, lack of anticipation, and playing against FCS schools in college.
I'm sitting here at the field at North Dakota State just watching one of the most outstanding quarterback pro days I've ever seen. From my perspective, I've got Carson Wentz #1, and the more I hear about this kid, the better I like him.
The Eagles liked him enough as a prospect to trade up and get him. They were in the midst of a coaching transition, moving away from Chip Kelly to Doug Peterson. It was a fresh start offensively, and Wentz was going to need some time to adjust to the pro game. But it took him less than 2 years to become one of the best quarterbacks in football. Here's a summary of Carson Wentz's NFL journey year by year. As a rookie, Wentz was not held back in the slightest. He set rookie records for completions and attempts. Statistically, he was mediocre, but he showed major promise in moments. The following year, Wentz became one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He was the MVP frontrunner for much of the year, but unfortunately, a devastating leg injury ended his season early. Luckily for the Eagles, his backup, Nick Foles, pulled off the improbable, helping them win the Super Bowl. When Wentz was medically cleared to return, he performed similarly in 2017. However, the team struggled in his 11 starts. Injuries led Wentz to shutting down his season early, and reports came out that a half-dozen anonymous teammates found Wentz selfish and egotistical.
And here's a quote from that article. The true Wentz is more nuanced and complicated, with sources describing him as selfish, uncompromising, egotistical.
But at the same time, other teammates defended Wentz.
Great person, first and foremost, and he's just encouraging and he wants to get better. We all have the same common agenda. We all want to win a Super Bowl.
He had become a polarizing player. 2019 was another polarizing season. Wentz's level of play regressed, and anonymous teammates called him out again, saying that he was trying to do too much, which hurt the team.
It's just been my mindset since I came into the league, is just blocking out all the expectations. Good, bad, ugly, doesn't matter. I just put my head down and go to work.
In the playoffs, Wentz only lasted a few snaps before a concussion knocked him out of the game. They went on to lose. 2020 was a disaster. Wentz was terrible. He was eventually benched after leading the league in interceptions and sacks. Ever since his injury in 2017, Wentz was never the same athlete.
Wentz gonna spin out of there, backpedaling as he throws it, and picked!
Which clearly affected his abilities. The team decided to move on from him after the season. In 2021, he joined the Colts and performed well statistically. However, a few boneheaded decisions by him cost the team games.
Shovel pass, picked off!
He was considered reckless and wasn't considered a great leader, so they traded him after the season. On his third team, Wentz brought all of his bad habits, but without any of the upside. His 7 starts were abysmal, and Washington released him after the season. In 2023, he served as the backup with the Rams.
I will say the NFL has a way of humbling everybody.
Then with the Chiefs in 2024, Wentz was once again the backup. Finally, in 2025, he was brought into Minnesota to be the backup and ended up starting 5 games, which weren't great. Overall, Carson Wentz was at best a polarizing player who saw some brilliant moments early in his career. His talent and ability to perform were undeniable. However, concerns over his attitude, inconsistency, and reckless play derailed his starting career.
The San Diego Chargers select Joey Bosa, defensive end, Ohio State.
With a high motor, good football IQ, and impressive strength, Bosa was viewed as a guy who could be a great starter right away and eventually develop into an all-pro caliber defender. He wasn't twitchy or explosive like a Myles Garrett, but he was extremely well-rounded, allowing him to play in multiple schemes. This was something that would come up later in his pro career. The Chargers were in desperate need of game wreckers defensively, and that's exactly what Bosa would provide them. Here's a summary of Joey Bosa's NFL journey year by year. After missing the first 4 weeks, Bosa made his debut and immediately dominated. The team wasn't good, but his 10.5 sacks in 12 games earned him Defensive Rookie of the Year. The following year saw the team move from San Diego to LA and improved to 9 wins. Bosa set a new career high in sacks. The combination of him and Melvin Ingram were becoming one of the best pass rushing duos in the NFL. During training camp in 2018, a foot injury derailed Bosa's season. He ended up missing the first 9 games of the season. Bosa did manage to return and make an impact, helping the Chargers win a playoff game in Baltimore. In 2019, Bosa switched his jersey number from 99 to 97, which was his number at Ohio State. The team fell apart, winning just 5 games, but Bosa was back to his Pro Bowl form, playing in all 16 games and putting up solid numbers. This helped him land a $135 million contract extension
Throws it, dancing around, he better get rid of it, he's taken down.
prior to the 2020 season. During 2020, Bosa continued to perform well on a mediocre team, making it to another Pro Bowl. Then in 2021, because of a scheme change, Bosa moved from his traditional 3-point stance to standing up and playing outside linebacker. He continued to be an effective pass rusher, racking up double-digit sacks once again, and being named to his 3rd Pro Bowl in a row. He also forced an absurd 7 fumbles that year. The next 2 years were tough though. A groin injury knocked him out most of 2022. 2023 was a similar story, as he missed nearly half the season due to injury. Injuries once again affected 2024.
It's been tough.
Although Bosa did play most of the season, his production saw a dip, and after the season, the Chargers decided to move on. Finally, in 2025, Bosa was a solid starter for the Buffalo Bills, leading the league in fumbles forced. At this point, Bosa has clearly proven himself time and time again to be an elite talent, considering his 5 Pro Bowls and excellent PFF grades. However, injuries have played a major role in his ability to be a reliable player week in and out.
The Dallas Cowboys select Ezekiel Elliott, running back, Ohio State.
This dude was the complete package at running back. He had the rare combo of size, vision, contact balance, and durability that made him the perfect 3-down back. Plus, he was a great pass catcher out of the backfield. He was the type of player who could take on a massive workload right away, and that's exactly what the Cowboys decided to do with him. Here's a summary of Ezekiel Elliott's NFL journey year by year. Right off the bat, he was totally dominant. He led the NFL in carries and yards as a rookie.
Elliott to the outside, look at that!
And despite putting up 125 yards in the divisional round, the Cowboys lost in the final minutes to the Packers. 2017 got off to a rough start for Zeke. Domestic violence allegations, despite no criminal charges, led Zeke to being suspended for the first 6 games. He eventually played in 10 games and led the league in yards per game.
Elliott to the end zone.
But Dallas missed the playoffs. 2018 was a return to dominance. Zeke put up over 2,000 all-purpose yards, leading the league in yards per game for the 3rd year in a row.
Elliott bursts through, gets into the second level.
Despite his dominance to that point, concerns over Zeke being out of shape during off-seasons became a regular talking point.
Zeke looks great. I mean, Zeke's in the best shape of his life, looking fast.
But this didn't stop Jerry Jones from signing him to a $90 million extension, a move that was very scrutinized at the time. Regardless, Zeke continued his dominance with over 1,700 all-purpose yards in 2019. But the team wasn't very good and they missed the playoffs. 2020 saw a head coaching change and a decrease in Zeke's effectiveness. He failed to reach 1,000 yards on the ground and produced his lowest yards per carry of his career. The team as a whole wasn't very good. The team improved tremendously in 2021, producing the #1 offense in the league on their way to 12 wins. However, Zeke wasn't their primary reason for success anymore. In fact, Tony Pollard was a much more effective back, producing a higher yards per carry. Also, the offense had become a more heavier pass attack. 2022 would mark Zeke's least effective season to that point. At the age of 27, he looked like a shell of his former self, producing one of the lowest yards per carry in the NFL.
Bringing pressure.
Tony Pollard was clearly the better back by that point, so the team chose to keep him and move on from Zeke. 2023, Zeke signed with the Patriots and served as a rotational back, putting up mediocre numbers. Then in 2024, he returned to Dallas to serve mostly as a backup. Finally, in 2025, Zeke was a free agent until signing to be on the Chargers practice squad late in the year. Overall, Zeke was a special player who dominated through his first 4 seasons. But due to a variety of factors, perhaps wear and tear, age, and a lack of focus in the offseason, Zeke regressed very quickly, which led him to being a backup level player by his late 20s.
The Jacksonville Jaguars select Jalen Ramsey, defensive back, Florida State.
As a defensive back prospect, he was the complete package. He had elite size, speed, and athleticism, combined with excellent man press skills and the ability to be effective in run support.
I just wanted to come out here and show him the player I am, show him why I'm the best player in this year's draft. So I feel like I came out and I accomplished that. I had a pretty good day, I feel like.
Even though he was a lockdown corner, he had the versatility to line up anywhere in the backfield of the defense. Ramsey was expected to develop into an all-pro level player, and that's exactly what he did. Here's a summary of Jalen Ramsey's NFL journey year by year. As a rookie, he was immediately a star, becoming a cornerstone of Jacksonville's secondary. He finished 2nd in Rookie of the Year voting. Year 2 saw him enter elite status.
Going deep for Baldwin, and it's intercepted by Jalen Ramsey.
The team went from one of the worst in the NFL to reaching the AFC Championship, in large part because of their defense, and Ramsey was their best player. This team nearly made the Super Bowl, but they came up just short. The following year, the Jaguars fell back down to earth, winning just 5 games. And Ramsey was still good, but not at the elite level that we saw in 2017. In 2019, with the team in shambles, Ramsey continued to be one of the few bright spots on the team, reaching his 3rd Pro Bowl in a row. However, this was a turbulent year inside the locker room. Ramsey got into an altercation with the head coach, and then the following day demanded a trade.
Great job by Jalen Ramsey getting dealt to Los Angeles. The Jaguars get back a haul of picks. The Rams get a great top-notch cornerback. Everybody wins here.
In 2020, the new Rams corner was totally dominant. He helped LA become a top-tier defense.
Knockdown.
In 2021, he was even better, finishing as the highest graded corner in the NFL. Ramsey played a major role in their eventual Super Bowl victory. 2022 saw a similar level of dominance from Ramsey, although the team completely fell apart. This forced the Rams to make a decision. They didn't have the finances to keep their star corner around, so they traded him to the Dolphins after the season. 2023 was a tough year for Ramsey. He tore his meniscus in training camp, leading him to missing multiple months. He eventually returned and had his worst graded season of his career. However, in 2024, he returned to grading out as a top 10 player at his position. But with the Dolphins falling apart, Ramsey wanted out after the season. Finally, in 2025, Ramsey, who's past his days of being a lockdown corner, served primarily as a safety and performed as an average level starter in Pittsburgh. Overall, there's no doubt that Ramsey is the best corner of the past 10 years. When you look at the totality of his accolades during that time, the dude's an 8-time Pro Bowler, 3-time First Team All-Pro, and Super Bowl champion.
The Baltimore Ravens select Ronnie Stanley, tackle, Notre Dame.
Considered a polished technician, Stanley was often described as a safe bet in terms of a tackle prospect. He wasn't a dominant run blocker or anything, but he was an excellent pass protector. He had quick feet with long arms and prototypical size. After a few seasons, especially once Baltimore turned to Lamar Jackson, Ronnie Stanley really came into his own. Here's a summary of Ronnie Stanley's NFL journey year by year. As a rookie, he immediately assumed the starting role and performed well. He ranked out as one of the better pass blocking tackles in the league, but wasn't a great run blocker. He performed similarly in 2017, grading out slightly higher overall. And by the end of year 3, with similar grades, Stanley had established himself as an average level starting tackle. He was good, just not great. That all changed the following year. 2019 was a landmark year in Baltimore. Lamar Jackson went on to win MVP, and Ronnie Stanley played a major role in that. He went on to become a first-team All-Pro that season. He would later go on to sign a 5-year, $98 million contract extension. Unfortunately, the next few years were riddled with injuries. He only played 6 games in 2020 before suffering a season-ending injury. And the same ankle that needed surgery required another surgery that only allowed him to play 1 game the following season. Then he missed time in 2022 as well. He did play most of that year, but he was pretty rusty, earning his lowest PFF grade of his career. 2023 saw him battle a knee injury throughout the year that knocked him out a few games and also hindered his play. This was an even lower graded season. In 2024, he bounced back, starting all 17 games and earning Pro Bowl honors. Finally, in 2025, he was an average level starter and played in all but 1 game. Overall, Ronnie Stanley developed into an elite left tackle early in his career. However, injuries hampered him, and he was never the same after 2020. Since then, he's been an average to slightly above average starter when he's healthy.
The San Francisco 49ers select DeForest Buckner, defensive end, Oregon.
Towering at a massive 6'7", Buckner was praised for his run defense, ability to bull rush, and versatility on the defensive line. For his size and play style, he compared to the All-Pro Calais Campbell. Buckner was regarded as a safe, high-upside pick with Pro Bowl potential, something that he would live up to throughout his NFL career. Here's a summary of DeForest Buckner's NFL journey year by year. As a rookie, Buckner immediately became the team's starting defensive end and performed well for a rookie, but the defense was absolutely atrocious. And the following year, they switched from a 3-4 to a 4-3. This proved to be a much better scheme fit for Buckner. He graded out much higher, even though he was much less productive statistically. By this point, he was already one of the top pass rushers in the NFL. 2018 was another step up. Buckner reached double-digit sacks and was named to his first Pro Bowl. And he was even better the following year. The 2019 Niners were a well-oiled machine, with an absolutely dominant defensive front. Buckner played a major role in this team's run to the Super Bowl before they ended up losing. And for the season, he was named a second-team All-Pro. Because of cap constraints, the Niners ran into a dilemma. They couldn't pay Buckner what he was worth, so they traded him to the Colts in exchange for a first-round pick. Buckner would later sign a 4-year, $84 million deal with the Colts, and immediately he proved to be worth it. In 2020, he was on another level, grading out as one of the top players at his position and was named an All-Pro first-teamer. After that, he just maintained above average starting level play. Any given year, Buckner's been an elite pass rusher. Now in 2024 and 2025, he did get banged up.
Kind of got hit and I thought it was just like a normal stinger. I came in on Wednesday to lift in the morning and I couldn't even do a push-up.
And missed significant playing time for the first time in his career. Overall, this dude has been a solid and reliable player. His strength has always been his ability to rush the passer, and he barely missed any time during his first 8 seasons. Now, in his early 30s, it's really just a matter of getting back to good health, like we saw early on.
The Tennessee Titans select Jack Conklin, tackle, Michigan State.
Considered the anchor of Michigan State's offensive line, Conklin was an elite run blocker with high football IQ and NFL-ready technique. His size, strength, and skill set translated to day one starter in the NFL, and it did not take long for him to prove his talent in the pros. Here's a summary of Jack Conklin's NFL journey year by year. As a rookie, he was incredible. Rookie tackles usually struggle to adjust to the speed and power of NFL D linemen, but Conklin looked like an elite veteran right away. He helped Tennessee's offensive line become the #1 O-line in the NFL, and he was named a first-team All-Pro. The following year, he wasn't quite the same player. He was still good, but closer to an average NFL tackle. Then, unfortunately, he tore his ACL in their divisional round loss to New England. It took him a while to recover. He missed the opening month of 2018, which set the tone for that season, as he only played in 9 games and had the worst graded season of his career to that point. 2019 was a huge bounce back season. Conklin was a major catalyst in their dominant run game that helped them reach the AFC title. He graded out very highly that season, but with cap constraints and concerns over his health, the Titans decided to not re-sign Conklin, and he landed a $42 million deal with the Browns. This looked like an incredible move at first. Conklin went on to become a cornerstone of their dominant 2020 O-line. The Browns went on to win a playoff game for the first time in decades, and Conklin was named an All-Pro first-teamer. However, injuries would become the theme of his career after that. He missed more than half the 2021 season. Then he missed 3 games in 2022, performing poorly PFF-wise. Then he only played in 1 game in 2023 after suffering a torn ACL and MCL. In 2024, he missed 4 games and graded out as a below-average starting tackle. And once again, he missed about half the 2025 season due to injuries. Overall, Conklin was a pivotal piece in 2 separate team playoff runs that were orchestrated by dominant run games. Unfortunately, injuries prevented him from being a consistent and reliable player after those 2 runs.
The Chicago Bears select Leonard Floyd, linebacker, Georgia.
Considered an athletic specimen, Floyd was a long, lean, and exceptionally quick outside linebacker in a 3-4 scheme. He brought the speed to be able to bend around the corner, while also possessing the motor and lateral movement to be a key piece in run support. The Bears were really beginning to invest on the defensive side of the ball at this time, and that side of the ball would become dominant by 2018, but not exactly because of Leonard Floyd. Here's a summary of Leonard Floyd's NFL journey year by year. As a rookie, he started right away and produced some exciting moments.
The ball comes out of the hands of Rodgers, and it's recovered in the end zone by Leonard Floyd.
Although he did end up missing 4 games due to injury, and he didn't grade out too well, but at least he had the excuse of being young. The following year was disappointing. Floyd struggled when he was out there, and then he had his season cut short due to a knee injury. The following season was a slight improvement. The defense was incredible, but Floyd didn't really put up big numbers. He would make a play here and there, but would also disappear. Unfortunately, his play didn't improve much in 2019. He was at his best an average starting edge defender in the NFL. Not exactly what Chicago was hoping for with a top 10 pick. So the team chose to release Floyd after the season. He went on to sign with the Rams, where he saw an uptick in production, reaching double-digit sacks for the first time in his career. Even though he only graded out average, the Rams really felt like he was a good system fit, so they signed him to a $64 million contract extension after the season. This decision paid off. Floyd graded out as a slightly above average defender in 2021, and then he had an awesome playoff run.
And it's tipped and intercepted!
Where he had 2 sacks, including one in their Super Bowl victory. Unfortunately, he wasn't great in 2022. The Rams were in rebuild mode by that point, and they released him after the season. Floyd ended up spending a year in Buffalo, and once again he reached double-digit sacks for the second time.
Floyd's coming again, and he's out! Howell!
However, he was a liability in the run game, and really wasn't a much better pass rusher. In 2024, he found himself on the Niners.
Leonard Floyd the sack!
But after one mediocre year, they released him. Finally, in 2025, with the Falcons, Floyd once again was where you'd expect. He finished with a below-average PFF grade. Overall, Leonard Floyd has been a starter for 10 years in the NFL, who's consistently healthy. That alone is impressive, and he played a critical role in the Rams' Super Bowl victory. Beyond those accomplishments though, he's been an underwhelming top 10 pick who's rarely elevated his game beyond average level play.
The New York Giants select Eli Apple, defensive back, Ohio State.
Praised for his man press coverage skills, Apple was seen as a prospect with great potential. He had the size and athleticism that you look for in a first-round corner, but at the same time, there were concerns about his maturity during the pre-draft process, and those concerns really became an issue in New York. Here's a summary of Eli Apple's NFL journey year by year. As a rookie, Apple quickly became a starter, and overall left something to be desired. At one point, he was benched during a game against the Eagles, and overall graded out as a below-average defender. The following year was a similar story. Apple was a liability in coverage and got benched in week 5 due to disciplinary reasons. He was heavily criticized by his coaching staff in week 10, which led him to being a healthy scratch 4 games in a row. Then in week 14, Apple was disciplined for posting on Twitter while on the sidelines of their week 14 loss against the Cowboys. The reports surrounding Apple at this time were brutal. Team safety Landon Collins called him a cancer and that he shouldn't be on the team. He was also suspended in the season finale after getting into an argument with the coaching staff. They did end up bringing him back in 2018, hoping to let bygones be bygones. But after just 5 games, they were done with him, and they traded him to the Saints. Once there, he didn't exactly perform all that well. After one more mediocre season in 2019, the Saints declined his 5th-year option, making Apple a free agent. In 2020, he signed with the Panthers, but he missed most of the season due to injuries. Then in 2021, he signed with the Bengals, where he didn't have a great season, but the team did make a run to the Super Bowl. During the big game, Apple was the player covering Cooper Kupp during his game-winning touchdown. This made Apple the laughingstock of the internet by other NFL players that he had talked trash to previously.
He wanted to kind of beat a heel, and he got smoked. That happens.
In 2022, he was one of the worst graded corners in the NFL. And unsurprisingly, the Bengals let him go after the season. In 2023, he served mostly as a backup in Miami. And finally, in 2024 and 2025, he was a practice squad guy who was promoted a few times to the active roster, but didn't play all that much. Overall, Eli Apple is an example of a guy who created a lot of problems for himself. It's one thing to be an underperformer on the field. It's a whole nother thing to become hated by fans, opponents, and those who you work with. So all in all, this is one of the best top 10s I've ever covered. You have a bunch of really productive players who've put in a lot of really great seasons. And for a good chunk of them, they are still in the process of writing their legacies.
On 4th down, steps up, Fields delivers, catch man, and the ball is jarred loose, and Jalen Ramsey has slammed the door shut.